Hello and welcome to Bullets and Milk, a Westworld After Show, pretty much produced by that hashtag show. My name is Daniel Jerome. I'll be your host for this after show, and to my right are my guests. Starting off, I'm going to go ahead and do the ladies first. Myverick, tell the world who you are.
Well, I'm Myverick Garcia. I'm also with that hashtag show. My bit with the hashtag show is going geek. Is that how we're like? That's what you. Is that the title of it?
I don't know, Myverick. You do it, yeah.
Well, yeah, but you guys produce it. I know it as my journey to my path to inner geekdom. Like what's trending now. Since when I was a young girl, and now I think I've
When you were a young girl?
When I was
You're still a young girl.
When I was a
Young woman.
Bless you. Yeah, like because honestly, like, and through all these expos and things that I've learned, like it's changed so much, and now there's so many things trending, and it's becoming popular again, and so fans, everybody gets to kind of incorporate me and grow my knowledge and rediscover my inner nerd.
I like that. And Joseph Deckelmeyer.
Yeah. I do the Ranger wrap-up, Morphin Monday, the newsfeed, with other cast members on our show like DJ and Jessica, and most importantly, me.
Right.
But
right here.
Right, we do that, and have a lot of fun doing it. And yeah, it's cool to be doing Westworld now.
Right.
It's different than Power Rangers. It's a lot different than Power Rangers.
Completely different.
Maybe a little more depth. I don't know.
Well, this is Bullets and Milk, and what we do here is pretty much discuss what you just saw on Westworld. So we'll be breaking it down, giving some insight, some additional stuff that maybe you guys didn't know, behind the scenes, anything we can do to pretty much enhance your experience of Westworld, we will do here on this show. Here on this show. So, yeah, I think that's where it was. It was on the head. So, that's what we'll be doing here. You guys can always keep up to date with any of the conversation that we're having here. Just simply on social media at that hashtag show. You can send us messages or anything like that. Just use the hashtag Bullets and Milk. That's all you have to do. That's how we'll be able to talk to us throughout the week. So we can continue to keep the conversation going.
And for those of you who haven't seen Westworld, can we cut to a clip to give you guys a little bit of what it is?
Now.
Do you know where you are?
I'm in a dream.
That's right, Dolores. You're in a dream. Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality?
Welcome to Westworld. No orientation. No guidebook. All our hosts are here for you.
In this world, you can be whoever you want.
Are you real?
Well, if you can't tell, does it matter?
This behavior, we're miles beyond a glitch here.
What are your drives?
To meet my maker.
I'm terrified. I feel spaces opening up inside of me. Like a building with rooms I've never explored. I think there may be something wrong with this world. Something hiding underneath. These violent delights have violent ends.
All right, so that was a trailer, and okay, I enjoyed just the trailer itself, made me need to see it, but just from seeing the trailer or even just seeing billboards, what did you guys think it was about?
Yeah, until I was coming to do this, and I had no idea. Again, like, there were key words, and just from, like, what I've heard behind, like, people bringing it to me, like, have you heard this? Like, the gossip, the rumors. I, for some reason, went with Waterworld or like Mad Max. I was thinking of it as
post-apocalyptic.
Yeah,
Dystopian future.
Stuff like back like in the West and how like things are going on now, and now quickly like seeing the trailer and then obviously seeing the show, and I'm sure we'll touch on this later, but so many different elements being brought in, and it also like made you think about past like movies that kind of touched on with the show itself.
Oh yeah, definitely. What about you, Joe?
I wasn't familiar with Westworld at all, actually. I've heard of I've heard it referenced in movies.
Yeah.
Like Iron Man 3. It was referenced in Iron Man 3.
Yeah, it was.
But just from the title alone, I thought it was like the Wild West. Like the whole world was the Wild West. I don't know why I thought that. And then I had no interest in it, to be honest with you. 100% no interest in it until I saw the actual trailer.
Okay.
And the trailer blew me away. And it's so funny because like leading up to it, I didn't know that JJ Abrams was an executive producer.
Or
Jonathan Nolan was the director. Yeah. I had no idea that a lot of these people were working on this. And if you have, for me, if you have JJ Abrams' name on something, I'm at the very least going to give it a chance, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, a little history about Westworld. It was written originally. It was a film, and it was released in 1973. It was by Michael Crichton. You may remember Jurassic Park, Congo. He wrote those, and this all happened. But Westworld was his first, I believe, and only directorial debut. The film itself. Cost about... Yeah, I did.
You saw the older one?
I am a fan of it because it's that whole android thing. I love particular things in sci-fi, at least particular themes, and this is one.
So aliens aren't your thing. It's like robots.
Robots, which they say on that film so many times. No one says robot.
AI?
It's always a robot.
Is that correct?
Robot.
Artificial intelligence?
Yeah, definitely. But so it came out in 1973. He wrote it, directed it. It cost about $1.2 million to make, and guess how much it made?
Like, were you guessing how much it grossed?
Yeah. How much did it gross?
1.2 million.
I'm gonna guess like 10 million.
It was a success, yes, indeed. It was $10 million.
Wow.
That's amazing that you stopped reading my notes.
Guess.
I'm going to turn that off. So it was $10 million. How much do you think it cost to do this episode?
10 million?
$25 million.
Just this one.
This one episode was $25 million.
Well, it did look very cinematic, so it makes complete sense.
I think that that was something like cinematography wise. And then like for not knowing much about it, I didn't like James Marsden. I mean, you're gonna win me over.
I kind of lost him right there.
At any time,
I lost it once he was on there.
He wasn't like the only person that I think people are gonna be familiar with.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah,
Anthony Hopkins.
Whoa,
Ed
like
Harris.
big name people that are in this. I was like, this is impressive.
You know, speaking on that just a little bit, though, I think it's really interesting that now these major award-winning film stars are doing TV shows.
Yeah, that's something huge, too. That's a growing thing. And commercially,
Kiefer Sutherland was the first guy that started that with 24, though.
You think so? Really? Wait,
yeah.
Wasn't anyone else? No one else?
I think Kiefer Sutherland was the first major film actor to transition to television. And I think to me, he paved the way for a lot of other actors doing that.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I can see that. I can definitely see that. What do you think the original film got on Rotten Tomatoes?
Ooh, I'm going to say... Because it's a referenced thing, and it feels like it has a subculture, or at least a cult following. I'm going to say like 60%.
Okay. What about you?
This was 1970 what?
1973.
I guess that would still be... I was trying to think of like, would it be before its time? Like, would people understand that and appreciate that? But I mean, Star Wars, like all these things, like futuristic things, were still very much prominent. So I think it probably would have done maybe like 70. I'm gonna say like a 70.
Oh, look at that one. High, low, and actually the answer is 83.
Well, here's the reason.
83%.
This is not a competition.
I know. I'm just thinking one.
No, it is. You're one. You're good.
The one thing that's interesting to me though is that the movie must have been ahead of its time, because in the late 70s and early 80s is when we started getting things like Blade Runner. With all these, you know, I never saw Westworld, so I don't know what it looked like aesthetically.
Sci-fi tropes and ideals.
Right, so but we started getting, like, these were like, Blade Runner was like a major sci-fi film that set the pace. So maybe Westworld was ahead of its time, but it's crazy now because I feel like we're starting to get into this trend in sci-fi back to androids and robots. Because, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Morgan, it kind of deals with AI and stuff like that. And then we just had that movie Ex Machina that came out. So
that's right.
We're starting to see this trend in sci-fi again, which is pretty cool.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And the thing about it is, so the film comes out, people see it, they liked it. Apparently, I mean, it made some numbers. Later, Crichton does a novelization of it, and that picks up. And
Why this? He actually did it. No, he made it.
He did. It wasn't really him. I don't know. Just took a script, put it together, and said, "Here you guys go," and that's what happened. So he does a novelization of it, and there's a lot more that goes on to what we just saw in this episode. Like,
you mean in the novel, in the film? I mean
in the film, and also in his novelization.
Oh, I do have a question for you guys, actually. So, on the news feed, Jessica and I reported that Westworld actually stopped. There was a point in season 1 where they had to stop shooting in order to plot out like further seasons.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, obviously, and in the movie, they only go so far, I'm assuming. So do the writers, and Michael Crichton is no longer with us.
Yeah.
So who's making that decision where this world is going? Like if it goes for like 10 seasons, let's say.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's JJ Abrams, so I'm thinking automatically, he's going to have a show Bible immediately. That's what he always does.
That's because I found that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
it's being positioned to take Game of Thrones' place, it seems like.
I mean, we're looking for it to end, so something needs to pick it up. That's true. And I think this show would be good for it to kind of continue on in that way, because we're going to now move from a period piece, essentially, and go into something now that's another period piece, but with it, it has a whole sci-fi feel.
Oh,
it's great.
In the movie, was it like? Oh, I'm gonna assume it's called Westworld. So did it take place in like
it was called Westworld.
The West.
Yeah. Well, okay. This is the thing. There were 3 lands. Essentially, it's like Disneyland.
Okay.
There's this place
like
called
Disney World.
Disney World, but
Or like back to like the theme of Jurassic Park, where there's like a land that's separated and put aside that they've created like for dinosaurs, which you kind of get that idea of like,
definitely,
that they're like, what are you doing, like messing with these people, like they're gonna grow, things are gonna evolve, and you get that with the show. I was like, this is like the adult Jurassic Park.
And I feel like this Westworld itself, the whole concept was just the breeding ground for later what he ends up writing as far as Jurassic Park. Because Jurassic Park, the same themes where it's like, oh, you're messing around with stuff, you're not God.
Well, this is really interesting to me, though, because I'm not saying dinosaurs can't be cloned or that's outside of, like, I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that AI is something that we're progressively, and where we are now in science, is something that's, like, we're on the cutting edge of.
Oh, yeah.
And the things that we're able to do, I mean, this isn't so far off from like the future, or maybe even like soon.
Not at all. I mean, for example, look at your own phone.
To that extent, I think we're a little far off, because I don't think that people would, and even like they touch on it in the show where he's like saying the host or the newcomers don't want to see the host do so well and be so. I don't know that are we ready for that? Like,
well, no, I don't. But that's the thing that I don't think we're necessarily ready for it. This is a philosophical show.
We like to watch it, but to be like roaming around with us,
look,
I don't think
look,
we're
man,
ready for that.
we have VR. Like VR is where things are going now with video games, and people want to immerse themselves, like putting a headset on and living in that world.
Yeah. That's true.
And now I feel like this is just taking that to an extreme step, but a step that I think that, I mean, it's possible that we can get there eventually.
Yeah.
But that's the scary thing, and I think this is what we touch on, and this is what makes this show so interesting. It's just thinking about that. This is something that absolutely can happen.
Well, see, I definitely feel that it is, because it's somewhere that ultimately we can end up going. When it comes to just what's happening in reality right now, like I said, look at our phones. You have Siri in your phone right now, which is amazing. Responds to your voice. You say, Siri, I need blah, blah, get this, blah, blah. You can literally, if you have it synced up right, you can have Siri order something for you off of Amazon Fresh. And the order will go through and you'll get it. That in itself is a level of AI that's right in your hand.
Yeah.
So everything else is just going to grow and get bigger from there. And, I mean, we're dealing right now with a lot of people talking about what they call the uncanny valley when it comes to things being created as far as robots and androids that have, like, faces that look like, oh, my God, this is real. And you don't know between if it's real, if it's just a man-made thing. There are films now, the recent Final Fantasy film, that one, like, that's a nightmare for me, because I've been like, oh my gosh, I look at it, I don't know if it's real, if it's fake, freaks me out. So that step in the AI isn't too far off.
Now, let's talk about the show.
let's start off immediately from what we get right when we start the show. We get this beautiful kind of layout of us seeing, we automatically know we're thrust into a Western. And now we're kind of picking up, I get Westworld. It's all going to be a Western. And then we see James Marsden. And we automatically see this connection. We're starting to build up, and we're thinking, okay, he's going to be the star. And things start turning once he meets, what's her, is it Delilah?
Dolores.
But we're also at the same time hearing a voiceover.
Yeah, in the very beginning.
Which is kind of like, oh no, actually the show really starts off like on this face.
Yeah, that's right.
And you could tell Dolores' face, and you can't tell if she's either hypnotized or like she's put in some kind of trance. It seems like.
Yeah, but it also when it opens up, they're you can see them like doing the intricate work of the muscles and things like that. So you're kind of already getting this idea and
of like AI of like
and like you see like some like intimate maybe scenes with like two robots. I think I saw, but then it's like then you see.
I think you're seeing what you want.
No, I swear. And then you see Dolores and like the way that like her body is. Do you remember the movie with Robin Williams? And he plays a robot.
Oh, yes, I do, actually. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't remember the name of the movie, but I do remember.
Bicentennial Man. Yeah. It like Bicentennial Man down to iRobot with Will Smith. And it was like, I think that immediately, like, I was starting to, because I put movies together immediately, like, I'm already thinking ahead. Like, I always think ahead of myself, was that's kind of what was happening here. It was like, I knew immediately, like, either she was a robot or we were about to like see a life that she thought was real, and it touches on that where they believe that they're real.
Whereas I thought going in, I thought that Dolores possibly could have been one of the people that were going to be in Westworld, and something happened to her, and she had no like reaction anymore. Because it was like you see a fly like on her. So I didn't understand what was going on. But then it cuts to scene that you were talking about, Daniel, and it looks super cinematic. It was so beautiful, and so $25 million. I mean, that's a lot of money. But
it was very much like an Ang Lee film. Like,
well, I mean, it was directed by Jonathan Nolan, brother of Christopher Nolan, who did Inception, which is a movie that Maverick brought up off screen.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that was another thing where. People and the villain or the one of the newcomers, the Man in Black, what's that actor's name?
Ed Harris?
Yeah, the guy that plays like the villain that's trying to tap into this game further along. Right. He gets kind of caught up in it, and he like wants this world to be real, which is very much like what Inception happens, like where they have their little tokens or their totems.
Right, their totems.
Totems
before we jump to that though.
Yeah, I was gonna say wait.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. So what we end up seeing is we get into this place. We see Evan Rachel Wood's character, Dolores, talk to her father, and they pretty much says this speech about like what are you gonna do? Like look at the beauty again.
Take this day.
And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go run some errands, and then. But he says come back before it gets dark, pretty much.
Right, exactly.
And then James Marsden's on the train, looking as beautiful as ever. And
handsome guy.
And he gets off, goes to the bar. Oh, he bumps into a few people. There's this poster that there's this outlaw that's hiding in the hills.
Yeah.
And they kind of try to recruit him. So it's weird. So we'll get into this in a second, but they try to recruit him to go after the outlaw,
the bandit. Yeah.
The bandit. But we end up in the saloon, and he asks the bartender for a whiskey. The bartender gives him whiskey, whiskey rye, and then a woman of the what would we call these? A woman of the Lady of the Nights tries to solicit Mr. Marsden's character Teddy, and Teddy pretty much says he wants to earn the affection of a woman. He sees Evan Rachel Wood's character. They meet up, and you can tell at this point that there was history between the two.
Exactly.
What that history actually was.
Or the fact that he said, I told you I'd come back. That kind of tells you that there was history.
Thanks,
Maverick. Let us know what's happening there.
But we know that that's going on and that's happening. Now, let me ask you guys a question. What did you think their history was, and what did you think the significance of Teddy and Dolores' like interaction was going to be? Like, where did you see that going?
I think it was a little bit too. I mean, I just figured it was. Well, I mean, it just seemed like the typical heroine and like hero of the story. So like, either he left, and because then she says again, she's like, I forget that you wear a cowboy uniform, but you don't know anything about it. So like, in my head, I'm assuming that he was was a passer through, and like so they kind of had a fling back in the day, and then again we'll touch on this later, I'm sure, but like you don't realize that this is just a thing that they live out every day. The day repeats itself, like Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I mean, when I saw it in that, I thought James Marsden was a guest. And I thought maybe
he was
she
a newcomer.
Still, yeah, and I thought
that
maybe
too
she
first.
was a host.
I actually thought that too.
That's how I thought it kind of put it together, because it was like, oh, okay, he's doing another trip in this, and she happens to remember.
But what the show did really well was making you instantly care about Dolores' character, because you open with her, and it builds up like why it built up it made you care in that first like 5 minutes about Teddy and Dolores' like what happened in their relationship, and he seems like a nice guy, and
it's amazing how what it did essentially was humanize robots.
Well, but we don't know that at the point.
No, but I'm saying, but later, as we do know, they were far more human than the humans that we saw. That's amazing to me.
What ends up happening though is they go off, they go to the house, I guess. Mm-hmm. You hear some screaming. James Marsden's character Teddy goes to see what's going on at the father's ranch. He pretty much is being held at gunpoint by these criminals. They end up killing him for milk.
Yep.
That's hence milk and bullets. Bullets and milk, sorry.
Yeah.
And he kills both of the criminals. And out of nowhere is where we get our first appearance of the Man in Black.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And this is the said character that Myverick spoke about by getting immersed in this world, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what he ended up doing was pretty much toying with the character Teddy, like, oh, Teddy, like, we've been doing this for years. So you knew that they've had, like, a backstory there, too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And also, back to, like, you talking about how you thought that James Marsden was playing a newcomer, with the lady of the night approaches her, and she touches him, and she's like, you barely smell like you have any rind on you, like, I'll give you, like, that was already, because I already knew that for some reason this was going to be robots and people introducing themselves real life into robots. I thought I figured she was a robot and that he was not, and that's why like her character was like, this is someone new, and so like she was approaching him, and so that's why whenever it turned out that he was a part of it too, I was just like, really? I was like, but he seems like he's gonna be a main character, so how can he be a newcomer? And I mean, how can he be a host, not a newcomer? And and then it makes sense, like he's gonna play a much bigger role, and what it seems like it's gonna come on later.
So we end up finding out that the showdown happens. He pretty much tells Teddy, Man in Black tells Teddy, like, you pretty much, like, shoot me. You have the first shot. Mm-hmm. And he takes it, and nothing happens.
Because
little do we know that guests can't be harmed by the robots.
By the robots. And that's
an
idea that goes through sci-fi. It has a string that goes on and on through it, where, you know, there's, like, particular primary rules that robots or androids or whatever can't do. For example, they can't harm a human. They can't, like...
Oh, I think they can.
Well,
Can't
for
kill
those
or
are the
shoot.
rules. Those are the rules, apparently. Like,
you must have never seen Terminator.
Remember on iRobot how they had the rules?
Mm-hmm.
Those
and
are the same things. Yeah,
principle interjects with the first rule.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and they were all created by Philip K. Dick, who pretty much wrote this whole idea when it came to like androids dream of electric sheep, which brought Blade Runner, iRobot, and even Westworld.
Which is also a great song, by the way.
Oh, speaking, and then that's something that reminds me too. One, that was something they didn't really show. I think they showed a brief moment of it where you see the people, how the newcomers get into the world. I wasn't sure like how do they get into that world, because whenever it shows them shooting it goes right through them. Yeah. So I mean, you saw the movie, and I'm guessing you like read up on this. How are they unable to be shot? Like,
well, see, I want to say and suggest
great question, actually.
I suggest separating the film from what we're going to see here, because I can already see that they're making their own particular changes, and I don't know because I'm still trying to figure out myself how they do get in. Like, because
I mean,
I know they're able to.
Them,
the train brings them, and then they get in.
Okay, so what I thought
the train also brought
because we do get a glimpse after.
He's already on the train. Maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah, we get a glimpse of the overall because the camera pans out after all this happens, and you see how big Westworld is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now I thought that they were standing on almost like a board here, and like they were in AI, but they were just standing so high up that like they were like gods in the sky, and I
Exactly.
think that's kind of like a symbolic reference of man playing God at this point.
Yeah.
Or like Hunger Games, like they have the arena and they can watch it and see everybody that's being played. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
The
Yeah, that's
simulator
exactly-
of the Westworld.
Exactly.
But again, how are these people getting into Westworld?
They're paying a lot of money, and I have no idea.
Well, they're paying a lot of money, and the Man in Black has been there for. He's done it
Seems
for
like
30
he's
years.
stayed in there.
He said. Well, he said.
And he
he's,
says that.
he's been playing it for 30 years, and they hint to that Westworld has existed even longer than that. So that's interesting.
Something else that we're also getting, and we're gonna. So something else that we're also getting is we're getting an insight of what the workers behind the scenes are doing, and this is our first poll, like almost the Wizard of Oz moment, where it's the man behind the curtain. Well, we end up in the real world, the command center, if you will, looking down on these people and I guess robots in Westworld.
In Westworld,
Yeah.
And then we start getting a little bit of revelations on what's going on, the inner workings of how this company works, and some of these hosts, which are the robots that are malfunctioning, and who's fixing them, and who creates them, and programming.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting a lot of exposition here about the company itself. And what's interesting here is that our main guy, Bernard, who is this genius that creates these guys, notices there's a glitch.
He's our Sherlock.
He notices there's a glitch in one of them, and or an update. But I guess
what was it? He referred to it as something with an R.
Revenants.
Revenants.
yes. So, but
Yeah.
he notices like there's a new one that they're working on, a new host they're working on, and she touches her face.
Yeah, but she does
And it's called a
little
memory-
extra-
Well, she does a subtle because the finger comes out
Yeah,
farther and
touches her
touches the
lips.
lip.
Yeah, because it's a memory triggered thing for this host.
For the robot.
And pretty much they're saying, well, this wasn't in the programming. Like they said, well, Miss Thomas Ford, the owner, which is played by the great Anthony Hopkins.
Oh,
Crazy.
Sir Anthony.
Sir Anthony
Say
Hopkins.
it right.
What
He's
is he doing in
I
a
know,
show
right?
like this?
Doing great. That's what he's doing.
it's a memory triggered thing that it's not he's not the owner. He's the head programmer.
Yeah.
And it's not Revenant. It's Reverie.
Reverie. Yes.
But
The extra added
but
subconscious.
Bernard, our boy Bernard, is so impressed by this that he's like, wow, Thomas Ford, the great Thomas Ford, made this must have happened kind of on his own. He kind of did it on his own,
Right.
like a wild card almost.
And then something else that I noticed was then who even seems like they're more infatuated with it is his sidekick. Elise is what she plays.
Yeah.
Shannon Westward. Like she up and kisses the girl, and then she has like this other attachment to Dolores, and just you feel that she has like this connection to these robots, and like has this feeling,
definitely.
this heart for them, which seems as though like that's going to be something that may be brought up later.
Yeah,
in
it
the
has
show.
to be.
It's going to be a key factor.
It
I
did
think it's going to be
trigger
a problem. I think so. I mean, it looks like it should be.
Stop the rebellion. So we end up back in Westworld, and we pretty much see the scene we started off with Teddy's character on the train. But now we hear these ladies like, oh, he's like, they pretty much say he's like the perfect male.
Yeah.
And one of the ladies says, well, I'm looking for like the bad boy here.
She's like, oh no, we want the bad guy.
We want the bad guy out
They're
here.
more fun.
So the day almost plays out the same way, but there's subtle differences now.
Changes.
Yeah, so now we're seeing other guests there. And we're
Exactly.
seeing them, like, now instead of Teddy's character going up to round up these criminals, a guest is there, and he tells his wife, he's like, that could be fun. So now we're seeing that, like, different paths you take is different storylines you can create for yourself in Westworld.
Which is something
Right.
they literally said to the T, which is, okay, these things are built a particular way and they will deviate from it according to
Yes.
some level of improvisation. And
small improv,
yeah,
yeah.
small improv, but that's amazing to me. Think about it like an idea or a program that can do that much. That's all encompassing. That's amazing.
It's quite wild. And it's crazy because it's weird because you kind of want to live in Westworld and can experience it. We'll get there in a second, but
yeah.
I think it was cool that we actually get to see guests now, and we understand what the stakes are here.
You can see like the separation a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
of,
you
like,
can-
them living in the world.
Right, and at this point now, when we come back to our second trip to Westworld, we can see the amusement park aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So every single time we see it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
The first time is our first introduction to, like, our first time visiting it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like us going to Westworld. Our second time in there was like, okay, now we know what's going on. And when we get there the third time, it's like, wait, this is they must have. This is a new storyline completely.
Definitely.
So now it has us hooked. Like we want to go back to Westworld. Anyway.
But I like how you pointed out right there how we do see the kind of theme park ideals that go along with it. There's Logan, one of the engineers, and how he's
the storyboard. Like
yeah,
he's like the
he's the
screenwriter.
screenwriter, yeah.
And he wrote an entire script for the Bandit, for the Bandit. And unfortunately, because of that guest that you mentioned earlier.
So we'll get there. But before we talk about that, we have to talk about. By the end of this, I mean, everything, this whole middle scene here sets up, this is what Westworld is. You see different guests interact. But by the end of this, her father, Dolores' father, finds a picture. And this is significant because he looks at it and he says, I've never seen anything like this. Have you, like, where are they? The significance of that means that this AI is going above and beyond of being what he was programmed to do.
Exactly.
And I think that's where it starts
where they
taking
talked about that took place over the updates, where they were able to unlock that subconscious from the reverie, right? Reverie.
Yeah,
reverie. They were saying that seemed like that was a fault or a flaw of these updates. The mistake was that they're now able to access previous programming, which, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna get there yet or not, but like Peter or the dad.
That's his Peter? That's his name?
Isn't his Peter? Like the dad's name?
Sure, we'll go with Peter.
Sure, that sounds good. Sounds good to me.
But yeah, so we start seeing that, and it plays out, and I think there's like another glitch or something because it takes us back. The sheriff.
There you go.
Like they take him.
The sheriff just like freaks out.
He just stopped.
Which is crazy. He did. He made like these weird noise, like he was having some kind of like
It was
It was very uncomfortable.
He had a brain freeze.
That's something I actually want to talk about. Not so much even on Westworld, but the acting in this was amazing because there were so many times that they had as an actress, or you would probably know that you have to do these kind of things, and you have to. He's a human, obviously. He's a human male, but he has to do these little things, and just like the father had to do when they're kind of questioning him. That he had to change his emotion at the tip of a.
Right.
And I thought like the acting in this was so amazing. It's so well done and so well thought out that I mean, you know that they're actors that are acting, but when you get them into the outside of Westworld and back into the real world in the command center, they make you feel like there are robots. Because there's that scene where with Thomas Ford's character where he's having a drink
with the older character.
With the older
one of his favorite ones that he pulls out of storage just to have conversations with.
Walt Disney doing that with some of his animatronics?
Literally, that's what I felt when I saw it. I was like, okay, I'm watching Disney have a conversation with Mickey.
Yeah.
In that way, where it's like,
one of the
stop, and he's like, I'm just pulling Mickey out of storage. I just want to talk to him.
Yeah, or one of the pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean that are like
because you saw him, he does the glitch where he's like, I was like,
oh my God, his movement was like so much more like
it was
slow and
literally
animatronic.
an animatronic.
Yeah.
And that was so great. That part, honestly, it was chilling.
Yeah, so we find out that there's a glitch. We don't know why the sheriff was glitching.
Honestly, but they also lead into it with the man in black. He steps into the saloon and is talking to the man, like playing the pokers and the chips, like the dealer, and he's like, we have to talk about some stuff, and then you see him approach Dolores, and he's like, not today, like I've got some, I won't see you later. And then you see this glitch happen with the sheriff, and already like I'm thinking, like, is he? Like, it made me think that he was already messing with something.
That's what I was going to say.
And that's why I thought it was going on behind the scenes. But then it wasn't. It was ended up just being like with these updates. But I wasn't sure. Well,
see, the thing is, even though that's what their hypothesis or their theory was, but remember later they give us a little bit of exposition where she says, if you change one particular thing, it can affect everything else. And it felt to me that's what was happening.
Yeah, like these were already the ripple effects.
He made a literal change there at the saloon, and it happened all the way over.
Amazing.
So it wasn't just the update.
Amazing.
I don't think it was just the update. I think it was so much more. So that's what you touched right on it. That's what I felt.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, this is
already
great.
The ripple effect.
I do have a crackpot theory that I'll share at the end of the show, but I think it's a good one.
Oh, I'm interested.
We all should just give like a crackpot theory at the end.
Oh, we will at the end. Don't give it now.
Our third visit to Westworld SHIT hits the fan.
Oh man, things start rolling down. It's more than just a slippery slope. It's like an avalanche.
We're seeing chaos. We're seeing it's just breaking out. Though this is a different programming, because the script writer Logan pretty much says, like, I've put in a couple new things, and he kind of starts messing with the other woman's head, and it's like, we need new leadership. We want you to almost run this, and I'm not against that. He wants to. I think this dude wants chaos. It seems like, or he wants controlled chaos. He wants more free will, or more of these.
Well, he was saying that he didn't want. Ford was trying to make them so much more humanistic, and he was saying.
Oh, then he wants to restrain it. Then.
Yeah, he's like, they don't want to, like, they want to know that, like, they're in control, like, that our guests, our newcomers that are coming in are in control. They don't want to, like, see that these people are. They don't want to really know that they're shooting someone dead, and the issues of that.
Well, I feel Logan is pretty much like an executive that runs a theme park.
And then the money that goes into the updates. He's like, you know how much money that we'll save if we cut that back and, like, roll back a few systems.
They should have signed up with Geico. But everything goes crazy. I mean, is this the moment where we start seeing the shootout in the streets?
Yep.
And then we start seeing the one AI that pretty much kills all the other AI.
And he's pouring milk on everybody.
He's pouring milk on everybody.
Saying, grow up.
And he's saying, "Grow up." Yeah, and then he drinks the milk, and then like he's been shot, and it starts pouring out of him.
Right.
But back to the street fight. You see guns bullets flying. You see that the outlaw, the Rodrigo Santoro's character.
So no, that was the second time, because this is where the guests, like, they had to shut everything down, and, like, the guests were freaked out inside the saloon.
That's right.
And the guy's, like, pouring milk on everyone, and then that's where we talked about with Elise. Showing that love for Dolores,
and,
like,
and she puts her back to sleep.
Her, and she puts her to sleep, and
how
so
creepy
again,
was that
another
scene?
Like foreshadowing, I think. But then there's a third shootout where they introduce the bandit.
Oh no! But this scene starts off pretty crazy too, because the father, Peter, I guess we're calling him.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
His name is Peter.
Just making sure.
Good job.
Bernard, Peter.
Yeah, see?
He's like freaking out, almost like the sheriff was, and he can't compose his thoughts and sentences. I don't want to say thoughts. I guess but he can't compose his sentences. And Dolores is like, I have to go into town and get the doctor. I don't know what's going on. Goes into town, finds Teddy. And then the shootout happens.
Yeah.
And then we see even like some of the guests are kind of like, this is like crazy.
Yeah.
Like this is getting crazy now. And the AIs are killing each other. I call them AIs. I just call them the hosts. They're called hosts.
I know. What a great jukebox that's constantly playing the new age music.
Yeah, it's great. But what happens is there's like a massacre, and right before, because Logan programmed the bandit, played by Rodrigo Santoro, to deliver this great speech that he wrote, and he's waiting for it, and then he gets shot by one of the visitors.
Right, well, because the whole reason why he had to do that was because the main woman that Logan is speaking to, that actress with the red hair.
The other engineer, yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately,
not Ford. Yeah. The other main woman that's kind of controlling everything.
Yeah.
Says that's it. Take everybody out. Like, they want to pull everybody with a new upgrade.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever Logan introduces, like, okay, I got it. Like, I have all these things written out. We're gonna bring in the bandit. The guests are gonna love it. We have amazing speech done, and then.
But you know what? Like, if you work at a theme park, probably more so Disneyland. And like,
how we're relating Disneyland to such a morbid.
I mean, listen, we went from the happiest place on earth to maybe the exact opposite.
It was inspired by Disneyland.
I see.
But I think what's interesting is, like, these workers there have to, like, be like watching this. They have to be thinking, like, yeah, when my thing doesn't work, that Aladdin show is great, and then they changed it for this Frozen thing. Like, it's like that.
You're taking this away.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I find it interesting, though, that we're along the ride as soon as we get into Westworld 2, like, as viewers.
Definitely.
And because we don't know what's going on there either.
No.
We just know the characters that we're familiar with, like Teddy and Dolores, and it's chaos, everything else. But what happens is that they pull everybody out, and because they want the safety of the guests, so they pull out Peter. And when they start questioning Peter and what's going on, Peter starts giving some chilling answers. But we also see the Man in Black drain the blood
Oh my god.
out of another host.
Yeah.
And later on, you see that he cuts off his scalp.
Yeah.
Now, well, we'll talk about this later, but I think that's
more foreshadowing. There was a
more
lot
foreshadowing,
going on in this first
foreshadowing.
movie.
And listen, potentially, if you're gonna have anybody play a villain, you're damn right you're gonna pick Ed Harris.
Ed Harris is
Chilling.
great. He just gives. He can do so much with just a look.
Oh.
You know, I loved him in Radio. I thought he had a great heart for.
I loved him in The Rock. Like that
I was just gonna say
The Rock.
I
He was
remember
great.
in The Rock.
But yeah, we're back to the real world in the command center, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with Peter. And this is some amazing acting, I think.
Oh my gosh, it was great, and the lines they gave him were genius as far as like giving him to pretty much break down and give a soliloquy from Shakespeare, speaking about what was actually real, what was fake, and how man sees himself. It was amazing.
But that was also a part of his programming from like 10 years ago, where he played a cannibal or something.
Yeah.
But it was all triggered from like within each host, they've incorporated with them a storyline.
Yes.
So his existence, his main being, was Dolores, and so
Now,
right with Peter, and so every time Anthony Hopkins would question that, it was kind of like you see where AI, like an iRobot with Will Smith, that's where the glitch would come up, because like his basic instinct is to protect his daughter. So then it triggered these past memories and the subconscious. Like you see how like that kind of storyline is triggering the glitch, because his basic instinct of taking care of his daughter is being questioned. There's trouble, and so he.
Well, it's more of it's an existential crisis almost in the form of a robot having it, where it's like, okay, my main programming is to protect my daughter. Now, to protect her, also I have to essentially tell her, hey, there are things happening that you don't know about that are outside, but I'm not supposed to be able to do that, but I have to do that because that's my prime directive. And then it just starts going loopy from there. And that's where he's fighting with himself. And that's
again,
amazing.
Great acting. You see that inner battle happening within him.
That was
you
so
do,
great
and then like his mouth movements of like when he was like starting to like shut down, were like.
And then that was like the chilling thing of for me, going into like zombie kind of mode. I kept waiting. Even the sheriff, whenever they were like dissecting him and his like upchucking stuff, I thought he was about to get up and like bite, like eat somebody.
Or something.
I did too, actually.
I kept waiting on like some type of like craziness that they were gonna go insane and bite someone, eat someone. I don't know.
This wasn't insanely graphic in terms of like violence. I thought. I mean, there's definite violence.
Yeah, there's
don't get me wrong.
There's goriness, but it's tasteful.
It's not like Game of Thrones yet.
Yeah, that's very true. It's rather tame.
There's nudity, and I'm like the first person that I'm like not really comfortable with nudity.
Right. You see it on screen, you're like, oh.
But it was. I always say like there's a time and a place, and so I thought it was well done that way.
Yeah, but it was interesting though, because we find out after this whole thing happens with Peter. I don't remember what happens next in the show.
Well, I mean, this is now, again, it goes back, it kind of is going back into now, like, there's more chaos. They introduce the bandit, they have third, like, huge shootout, and it kind of goes back to, for them, showing, like, okay, they restored order back to Westworld.
Right.
But then a huge thing is they go back to Dolores, where that's the opening part of the show, where they're questioning him, and they're like, they say Dolores is our oldest girl. Like, she's been reprogrammed so many times. She loves Westworld. And so, like, she wouldn't question it. And then it becomes, like, chilling. So then she seems like she's got so much more depth to her than what everybody loves. You know, because she's, like, the brightness, the damsel in distress, kind of. And then there's, like, another part of her.
Did you guys notice one portion where the father does ask, now that you've seen that, think back, when the father did ask, hey, what was that? Did you notice a moment of her automatically working to cover it up?
Yep.
She's like, it doesn't look like anything.
Oh, it doesn't look like anything. I'm not talking about. Everything's fine. Haha. Like, I'm going to end this conversation.
That's the way their programming is.
Exactly. Well, they're programmed to ignore. Yeah, exactly. If it goes off of what they understand to be some level of a script, which that was so interesting.
Yeah, because when they were telling Teddy that he's not real, he gave no response whatsoever.
None. None.
Or even when he was like
didn't say
looking
anything.
at when he
Or
like
the little kid. Remember when
Yeah.
he comes up to Dolores
And he
meaning,
tells her,
oh, that's the scene, yeah.
Yeah, he comes up to Dolores and he goes, "You're one of
one of
them.
them."
You're not real." And she was just like,
well, everybody be careful. They're bandits. Ha,
Yeah.
ha, ha. But I feel that there's something, like you said, there's an inner working. Even though she's saying it, she knows she's saying something that's, oh, okay, it's a script. I have to do this. But I think she's holding on to information that's
She's been
playing
able-
back there.
TBD.
Yeah, to be able to bring it back. I feel that could be a big thing.
That's right.
It's huge.
and then of course it ends with like the little fly crawling up her and she like
And
slaps it.
smacks
Which again,
So
foreshadowing,
significant.
like the fly is so big.
Well,
in
because
all of
they
this.
also make a reference that
They wouldn't hurt a fly.
and they literally
Exactly.
wouldn't hurt
They
a
wouldn't
fly.
hurt a fly and she slaps it.
That's the
And
thing.
she slaps it.
That's
So-
the
It's
thing.
still stuck to her throat.
Yeah.
But that's the thing though, is that okay, now she would harm a fly.
Exactly.
That's a living creature.
And
now
it breaks this whole character that we've already thought she was.
yes.
And that's where everything, now you're starting to wonder, well, was that guy who hates them, who pretty much, I hate to say this, but he's pretty much an archetype. He's a character from Jurassic Park earlier, where the guy that like hunts the
Wayne?
the T-Rexes,
from Seinfeld?
No, not that one. No, it's he's the guy that hunts the dinosaurs at the very beginning of Jurassic Park.
Oh,
Part 1.
yeah.
Shoot, ah!
The
That guy.
Australian guy.
Yeah, that guy. He pretty much has his own double in this show, where the guy's like, there's going to be a rebellion. Essentially, like, have you ever seen? Do you have kids? Or remember that question? That guy.
The guy
who's
that's questioning Dolores.
Yeah,
They're gonna rebel.
that guy's going to be the one later that's going to be walking around shooting him, like ridiculously later.
Yes.
And he doesn't trust him. So then from there, we do have to make sure that we do remember Ed Harris. Towards the end, he has an end game.
The Man in Black.
The Man in Black. He has an end game
Very
because after
violent,
he's
gory,
after
bloodbath
after he
endgame.
drained the guy of 3 buckets worth of blood and everything like that, we go right back to him after being in the real world with Peter and his glitching and all that. We go right back to Ed Harris and we see that he went ahead and pulled the skull off of
Scalp.
He scalped that host there, and when he scalped the host, they take a moment to show us the little design right underneath, where
The legendary symbol from the movies.
yeah, right. That's what it
looked
looks like. That's exactly what it looks like, and we know that he has an end game because he was asking questions to the host. Also, trying to find out what else is
How do I
happening.
unlock
how do I unlock what's like?
Now you're
the
gonna
bigger
tell me
part.
everything you know.
Yeah, and that's
You okay?
That's
You think you
interesting
dropped
to me.
something? You all right?
Yeah, that was
And that's what's really interesting because I need to know his end game because he knows a lot more than anyone else.
Well, you're
He's
probably
been
gonna have to
playing
wait
it-
9 more episodes to figure that out.
Well, he's been playing it for 30 years.
I'm thinking because
Is this your
of
crackpot
that.
theory? We can't do this now.
Oh, well, is that what a crackpot theory is?
Yeah,
Am I
like
right?
a crazy
What I
theory
think
is,
he's
yeah.
gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't know if it's
What
right
his
or
motives
wrong.
are?
Yeah, that's why
Okay,
it's a
I'll
crackpot
wait.
theory. But also beyond that, we go right back to what's happening in the real world. I think, did we go back to Peter and we send him right along with the crazy milkman into
Where
the rejects,
like the dead host.
Yeah, the reject host, and we notice at that one moment, your best friend Bernard whispers whispers into Peter's ear, like he sends the milkman off. I'm gonna call him the milkman. I'm sorry, I just am. The bandit is now that bandit's milkman. So he sends the milkman off, and then when he sends Peter off, he leans in and whispers into his ear,
Hail Hydra.
Well,
He says, "May the odds be ever in
your favor," and then he just tells him go. And then that's when that single glory Denzel Shia LaBeouf tear comes down, and it's so sad. I need to know what he did say. I do need to know.
There's so much that's happening in this first
But
pilot.
now with that going on, let's get into those crackpot theories.
No, let's get into a game, actually.
You don't want to do the crackpot theories first?
We do a game first.
All right, fine.
Lighten the
fine.
load. I
So,
gotta remember what
for
I
this
wanted.
game, it's going to be interesting. Since we do understand that there are hosts and there are guests, best question is, which one would you be? I know it's weird to say, why would I pick a robot? But it can happen. There can be a reason for it. So
I would be the host. I don't. I think
Ooh.
like I just think that there seems to be so much more
the hair flick
dimension.
that
I know, right? See that? Oh, an additional parts of the game after.
Well, there's like a
first I
little
wanna
bit
know
more
what you
depth,
think.
a little bit more depth to them, and
Now, don't tell us what your job or position would be as a host. Just let
No,
us know, because then that's the next question.
I think I'd be a host.
I think I'd be a guest.
Yeah,
It's like playing a video game live action, like Final Fantasy, like being in the world.
definitely. I would also be a guest. Now, what I want to do, which is
If we were
kind
all
of fun.
hosts.
Well, no. I want to know now. With that being the case, we all know I want someone else to figure out what that person would be in their role. So,
What
for
would
But
I-
if we
what
were
host?
guests, then we would just be guests.
well,
Being the same if we were all hosts.
But if we're guests, we can be a good guy, we can be a bad guy, we can do anything. So I want to know, what do you think Joe would be if he was a guest?
Like if he was playing the game, what way would he go?
Yeah.
He's a mischievous little
mean,
guy. I feel like
Mischievous?
you would go in there and like try to like mess things up and be like try to like start your own little world happening, and I could just see you trying to like mess up the narration and like.
So you
create
thinking
your
I'd
own
be-
story.
I'd
You're
essentially be the man in black.
Yeah, you're the man in black.
but not like he. Oh, that's my crack by there. So you have to be careful with that.
Okay.
You would do it to like. Not
Just
to,
for
like,
my own
not
enjoyment.
not for like the evilness and like the roughness.
You think I would do it just to
you'd
make
be like,
fun?
You'd be like,
Yeah,
guys, have
yeah.
you ever heard of kickball? Let's get a game together. You
Oh
know?
my
and,
God,
like-
you would ruin everything. You're like,
That's
Joe, you would be the one to probably bring in a cell phone. Watch this, I know
Totally
magic.
true.
and
Selfie.
Do you
ruin
know
them.
Pokemon Go? Because
Yeah.
we're gonna play it.
You
That's
would
hilarious.
ruin them. That would be it.
I
Now,
think
do you think?
Maverick,
Yeah.
young Maverick, would be a school teacher in the world of Westworld
As a host.
as a host. I definitely can see you being like the proper teacher, like teaching kids things, like really nice.
I honestly think
That ends up at the saloons from time to time. I'm
no,
just kidding.
I honestly think she would be pretty much just like Dolores.
Yes, that's
I think
what
she
I
would love
do.
to be like, oh, okay, hey, you know, she's
You would be-
she's the
you
host.
think you would be
she's
just
the
like
host that would
Dolores?
have.
I don't know,
She's the host that would have
I-
a father, and you know, probably.
Well,
even
yeah,
a
you'd have your
mom
family as the
and then
school
a little
teacher scenario,
brother,
too.
Blah, blah. No, but I think this not without that, not at that. I think something about you just says like I would like to be that. Not
Like, break
doting
free.
daughter, but
No, well, no.
that daughter that's still.
Well, like what drew me into her was like it seems like she has a light about her. Like people fall in love with her in the beginning, and then, but there's like this sense of like break free. Like you're kind of rooting for her. Like oh, she's
See?
been there from the beginning, and like what else can she do? Like what other bigger role does she play? Like she seems like so much more of like the hero of the scene.
Right.
So to, of the host, maybe not so much for the guest, and so that's why I was like I would be a host because it seems like they're gonna have this revolution coming.
I also agree with Maverick that you would be like that the man in black. You just come in to ruin things. That's all you would do. Just
Not
like
ruin, just have fun on your own terms.
Well, in my opinion, you
Kick
come
a
in to
game of
ruin
kickball.
things. I think you would.
Hey,
you would.
everybody here at the saloon, let's all do shots.
Yeah, you'd introduce people to baseball, drunken, blah blah blah. Like it would be weird things.
Different card games.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
literally.
alright.
Oh, maybe a hand game.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows?
What would Daniel be?
Okay, and so you said you'd be a guest.
I'd be a guest.
Oh my God, you have to
Why do I gotta go?
No, this is great.
want
I
you to
want
go
you to go first.
Because I know whatever I say is not going to hold a candle to what you say.
I have no idea. Hey, what would Daniel be as a guest?
Yeah, as a guest.
I think you'd want to go, not necessarily that hero route, but you want to like the adventure. Like the guy says, oh, let's get Teddy. He'll take us out on like some crazy stuff. And so I think you want to go like see like what's the crazy, like I don't think you'd have like an alternate agenda of like messing and changing up the world. But like
Right.
you want to like, you're like getting to that next level 12. You know, like you want to like
Yeah, he
win
just
the
wants to
game.
be best friends with Teddy. That's what he would do.
No, I think
would
he
just
wants to
wanna be
win
best
the
friends with
game.
Teddy.
So he's like, let's experience all what the West has to give us.
I would try to just win the game. That
Yeah.
would be my thing. I
Yeah.
think I would just go.
But
like,
is
all
it
right, I
is it
wanna play
actually
and
a
win the
game?
But
It just seems like a park that you just go and
well,
like,
see, the thing I would want them
Not
to
to
write it
Daniel.
as it's a
Not to
video.
Daniel,
Yeah,
it's a
I would
game.
want them to write it like it's a video game. I get to, I'm not the sheriff, but somehow I end up being the star of this whole thing, and blah blah, and everyone loves me, and I'm riding on the horse, and bang bang, shoot 'em up. It's amazing. I would be that guy. I would just
Yeah.
bang bang, bang bang. It's my
that
gun.
would be hilarious.
That would be my thing.
Good game.
But yeah, right.
But we have to figure out
But
how
now-
do you get into this.
So
Two come.
that's very interesting, and I think that's where we start getting to our crackpot theories.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, no, go ahead, Maverick.
No, we're going to start with Maverick because I don't want you to steal hers.
Exactly.
So
Oh,
go ahead,
okay.
Maverick. Go ahead.
There's the one theory I have with the Man in Black. The whole thing in general, the first pilot seems like a movie on its own. Like you kind of, it talks and touches on so many things, and there's so many foreshadowing, and so like obviously you want to see what's going on in the movie. But I was just so satisfied with the first take, so I didn't really like. And I'm usually someone that's always because I love movies so much, I'm always trying to predict what's going to happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm usually spot on too. And so I like the fact that this was such a satisfying first episode, and you really got a great understanding. So you thought, but even then, you fell in love with these characters and the dimensions. Back to my crackpot theory. I think crackpot. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
crackpot.
It seems as though our Man in Black, what I know the actor's name, but what
Ed
is
Harris.
Yeah, but what is his name?
Oh no,
Man in Black.
He's literally the Man in Black.
Where he's played this game, been in this game for 30 years, that and invested so much money where he's just about to he wants to unleash anarchy and wants to almost control Westworld, where he is that's why he wants to know what's the next level. These parts, there's old Indian voodoo, it seems like he's touching on there's something that's amidst all these people, and you kind of see it with Peter talking about being a cannibal. He wants an apocalypse almost kind of within this world, and he I don't know if maybe because he wants to see if he can either plays Jesus, survival of the fittest. These guests they don't appreciate Westworld, so it's gonna be really who can survive this. And so that's kind of what my theory is that that's why his intention is to get it to that next level, to the ultimate level of this is the boss round.
Oh, that's interesting.
Ooh.
Are you going to judge who has the better crackback theory at the end of this? Don't judge it, because they all could be both great.
Well, I will judge in my mind, but go ahead.
That's a really good one, actually.
Mm-hmm. I have one.
My theory is that the Man in Black says a very interesting line to Teddy right before he kills him. He says, "Why did they pair you two up together?" And the reason I think that's significant is because I think that the Man in Black is doing this, and he's been playing this game essentially for a long time. 30 years. And in that time, you obviously know that every time he does this, he has feelings for Dolores, or he has something for Dolores. I don't think the Man in Black is actually the villain. I think he's going to end up being the hero. And what he's doing is he's trying to reprogram all these guys. That's why he's cutting their scalps to study them. And he's trying to reprogram them to give them free will, because it sickens him that he sees Dolores, somebody that he eventually fell in love with Teddy every single time, and she has no choice about that.
It's a weird thing, though, because he drags her off. I mean, I'm not trying to put holes in your
No,
head.
you're right.
He drags her off, and he's like, I want to, I pay money for you to fight, and he's essentially raping her.
But that could mean fight in a different way too, because he could also mean I pay money for you to fight, maybe fight against your instinct for
so
free
he's
will.
conditioning her. Kinda.
Right. So you got to think what plays back to what he did with the father. Maybe he planted that, and he was messing with Peter's programming already. We don't know who's doing that, but what if it was the Man in Black that did that? Mm-hmm. And what if he's trying to create free will for all the hosts in order for him to live the life that he wants?
So an apocalypse,
with Dolores,
but a different way.
An uprising for free will.
Yeah,
we'll say.
And I love both of those theories. I'm not going to judge either one, actually. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. We're just not going to do that. So 100 points to you, 100 points to you. Congratulations.
Gryffindor.
You know what? I just did that Harry Potter thing. My house, you want to guess my house is? You're probably going to guess it.
Your house?
For Harry Potter.
Great. Let's talk about Harry Potter and Westworld, please. No, what is it? Now I need to know.
It's Slytherin.
Oh my God, I could see that for you.
Do you know what my Patronus was? Did you do the Patronus test?
A dog?
Did you? No, it's not a dog. It's a crow, actually.
Oh my God, are you serious?
It's so sad because you just have such a chivalrous hero aura about you, and then you're
Are you being sarcastic?
Yeah,
no, I'm not.
Being sarcastic?
I'm not. And then it's Slytherin and a crow.
I'm a dark guy, I
You
guess. I don't know.
This is Joseph. I don't know if you met him yet.
She's right. She had spot on. With your assessment. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hero and chivalrous.
Oh.
You're still here, aren't you? I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
Anyway,
Thank you.
what is your...
Thank you. My
you
theory
gonna give
actually
one?
is a hybrid of the two. I believe actually that he wants his end game ultimately is one of freedom. I wouldn't say he wants to be a Neo. He wants to be the one. He wants to help all of the robots who have a capability of being sentient become sentient. He wants them to be alive in a way. And it's the same thing as Joe said. I mean, that's exactly what I feel. I don't feel that it's for an apocalyptic reason, no, but I feel it's just like Joe said. That's all he wants. He just wants, but not a rebellion, not a reckoning.
He wants
them to be free.
He definitely wants free will. I think.
Yeah.
I could be completely
But I don't
wrong.
know if it's because he's in love with her.
I think we're going to get a backstory eventually that's going to show that he may have come close to, like, he thought he was getting close
it's
to
30 years,
winning her
I
over.
think so.
And I don't think, but is it repeating every 30 years with the same kind of scenarios?
Well, I think not even every 30 years, every time, like when he restarts.
We're going to
his
see this
game.
downfall of the Man in Black, and we're going to find out what his connection to Dolores is. Because like he said to Teddy, I don't see why they paired you two up.
But he also says there's a winner and there's a loser.
There's a winner and there's a loser. And then at the end he says, last time he sees her, he says something to the effect of like, I won't see you this time.
Yeah, he said.
Yeah, exactly.
So
this
that
is sweet,
means
but not as sweet as you.
so
Not today.
that means that he was there for a different agenda, but he's used to seeing her, obviously.
Exactly.
So it's very interesting.
But I wonder, like, do people know, like, hey, he just scalped one of our robots. We gonna get that thing back?
That
Like,
was,
there has to be some guy like, oh god,
maybe
what's
we should
going
touch
on?
on this.
I don't.
That
What
was
am I gonna do
something
here?
I thought, how are the people that are watching this, the game people, like the people that are, I know this is probably something we should have talked about. This was in my head. How are they not noticing one of their hosts is missing? One of their hosts didn't reprogram. One of their hosts is just obsolete.
I don't know. That's a great question.
Well,
maybe
killed
they
him.
don't know yet. Maybe we're gonna get that answer later.
I hope we do, because that's a really bad. Whoever is in charge of logistics is doing a really bad job there right now. Because it's just like, there's a robot missing.
Because they seem to know everything else. Like the guy that's questioning Dolores, he goes, "Did your father question something to you?"
Yeah, see,
so they
knew.
know.
So,
then
do
how
you
did they
guys
even
think
miss
that the
this?
reprogramming is coming from like inside that command center or from the Man in Black?
Ooh.
I don't know.
If you had a guess.
Ooh. God, that's a good question. As far as the glitching.
Yeah, as far as the glitching.
Could it be, like, could the Man in Black be a known catalyst? Like, he's the one that's actually making it happen.
Right.
That's a good question. I don't know. I wonder if that could be the case. Like, could he be somehow making this happen?
You know, there's an interesting thing, too, is that how long has the Man in Black been going there?
He says 30 years.
And they also said Dolores was the first
Yep.
30 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
he's
had a lot of
wonder.
time to build up that relationship with her.
That's very true. And a lot of time.
And
to
maybe,
build it up
you know what? And
reject
she's
it.
never had the same job. So maybe he fell in love with the Dolores character and he's trying to unlock
Over
maybe his
and over
past
and over?
Dolores or something. Because she's had different.
No, she's been the same one. That's something that he said.
no.
He played the same one, right?
No. They said
She's played
she's
Dolores.
also played. She's been Dolores, but changed as far as what she's done.
Yeah.
So many times.
Oh, she's been.
But
oh, yeah,
I think
that's
she's
true.
always
She's
been Dolores.
But that's my point.
Yeah, I
Is
get
that
what
he's
you're
falling
saying.
in love with these different aspects of Dolores. And
Yeah.
that's why I think that he's there to kind of set Dolores free, really. But he's trying to figure out a way to do it. But like you said, trying to give free will. I don't know if it's just to Dolores, but maybe to
now that
everybody.
you said that, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is it all literally just for Dolores?
It could be.
That's usually what movies are about. There's always about a girl.
could be.
Because the whole violent.
But see, that's the thing, though.
Oh
he
my
comes off as
gosh.
the villain, and maybe he's not.
Oh my gosh, that's genius. Oh wow.
I'm on this show for a reason, guys.
Yeah, because violent sites have violent ends. That's Romeo and Juliet. And that's what Peter says at one moment. And it wouldn't make sense for Peter to say that if in some way the Man in Black and Dolores is kind of like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing going on. It's love that can't actually happen, but he's hoping that it does. Oh my gosh.
I think we just
You
blew
just
Daniel's
literally
mind.
blew my mind. And you saw how I just put it all together and I just added on. Oh my god.
That's why you're the
wow.
best.
Yeah.
Put it together.
Wow. I like that. Well, I gotta say thank you guys. It was great going ahead and breaking down. Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna be thinking about this now. That's gonna be the whole thing. But it was great being able to geek out on Westworld and pretty much talk about bullets and milk.
Bullets and milk.
The meat and potatoes.
Yeah. So make sure you guys. Speaking of bullets and milk, make sure you guys tweet us, send us anything via Instagram, Facebook, and use the hashtag bullets and milk. That's how we'll know you're talking to us, and we'll be able to keep the conversation going throughout the week until the next week's episode. My name's Daniel.
I'm Myverick.
And I'm Joe.
And this is Bullets and Milk Westworld After Show.
And hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything trending in geek pop culture.